as I can. We will end abruptly at 7 o'clock, if not before. It's Friday night. I don't want to eat into anybody's evening or mine. So we're out of here at 7. Regardless, if there are unanswered questions at the end, then we may have another one of these as we find out more information and have more information to give. But as we get more resolute answers, we will continue to send out PDFs with specific answers as we have them. I will not have all the answers tonight. I can go ahead and tell you that. So I will keep every answer as short as possible. So if it's a yes or a no, then I'm going to give you a yes or a no and go to the next question. Please don't be offended. I'm just going to try to keep this thing moving as quickly as we can. I'm going to keep my spiel very brief so that we have as much time as possible for as many questions as possible, because I'm assuming people have a lot of questions. Number one, I'm very excited about the merger. I've spent 7 years in Charleston, and I'm excited about being able to work with some of the people that I worked for previously and some of the people that worked for me previously. The number one reason that we are doing something like this is that so that both clubs have access to more resources. The soccer landscape is always changing. You can barely keep up with it even if you're full-time. And so to try to stay ahead of what is going on in the soccer landscape, we will now have more resources with players in Charleston, coaches in Charleston, fields in Charleston, players here, fields here, coaches and staff here. And being able to combine what we're doing with what they're doing, because we both clubs have a lot of good things going on. That being said, there is nothing really set in stone right now as far as merging any teams together or anything to that scope. We have not delved into any of that to this point. Those meetings are about to start happening. And I've been to Charleston once, and I will, those guys will be here, and we'll start sorting through any of those things, because that's going to be most people with kids who are 13 or older. I already know that's going to be the major question, is what's going to happen to my son or my daughter? Which team are they going to be on? Who's going to be their coach? And how are we going to put that team together? Where are they going to practice, etc. I do not have any of those specific answers. So if that's one of your questions, you can scratch it off and just say I'll come back to it. I'll try to give you what I know or what I think and what I think it's going to end up looking like, but I can't guarantee on any of those points. So with that being said, I will open the floor for any questions. Sean,
yes.
Shoot.
Don't take this rude, okay? But you're just a little bit of a control freak, right? So what happens in 6 months if you decide that this isn't working and you decide to leave, or you're not here for long term? Is Mount Pleasant is committed to 5-day-a-week training as you are? I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, good question. So they basically, number one of the number one reasons that I personally did this is so that there is more stability, right? So right now, this is just for anybody who doesn't know, this academy is a business that I personally own, nobody else. So if I get hit by a bus and we haven't merged with anybody, it gets real iffy about how everything continues, right? So now the club is run by a nonprofit board of directors that continues to filter in and out, who are doing things and making decisions based on the best interest of all the people that are within the organization. So that's one of the main reasons.
That's the rumor on this. That's the main. Around for I'm not asking you to name Grace's firstborn child, but.
So that's the main reason that I did it, is so I've been doing this for 10 years and I work 60, sometimes 70 hours a week, and you can only sustain that for so long. And so this gives us the ability to do a lot more things. Right now, my intent is I'm not going anywhere. And one of the reasons that Mount Pleasant is joining forces with us, because they have a lot of people that are interested in doing what we do. training every day, getting better training in, getting more training in. So it's probably more likely going the other direction than decreasing. Garrett.
Yeah, what's your role going to be in the new structure, and like how involved are you going to be in the day-to-day kind of training?
So my job description right now, straight away, is I will continue to do everything that I'm doing in Savannah. So I'm not moving anywhere. I'm not moving to Charleston. I'm staying here. I will be running training sessions. I will be coaching teams, and I will be in charge of Savannah. But I will also now be the technical director for both clubs, meaning creating a vision and putting everything together to try to get everybody on the same page for what they're doing in training, what it looks like in the games, so that there's a closer picture of what kids look like and how they play in Charleston and in Savannah. So as we start to put teams together at whatever age that might be, that those teams and players are operating in the same philosophy, same standard, etc. Now, that being said, I'm not going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing day to day for the next 10 years. Just like I said before, can't sustain it. So my role eventually in time will become technical director, but we will hire people that are able to do what I do right now, and run Savannah and run Charleston and run training sessions and coach teams at the level that we've already set up and that everybody expects.
So are you applying for the ECNL program?
We've already, just like we have before, we merge with anybody, we're always looking to do what we think is best for our participants. So applying for things like ECNL or Development Academy or whatever else, what other league or individual thing that you might be trying to get players or teams into, we're applying for it and we're trying to get into it. So short answer is yes. ECNL is a rolling application. Development Academy is they have a deadline, but they're already past that deadline.
What is it going to happen with tryouts?
Tryouts will start in May. I think the only thing that's going to be different is you're probably going to be, for some players, there's going to be an expectation of there's going to be multiple tryouts you're probably going to need to make, meaning some players are probably going to get asked to, once they make one certain level, to make another tryout. So I would just be prepared to make sure that you're around in May and then early June, because it could be, hey, listen, you made the first round, and now we're inviting these kids to go and try to make a team that's at a more elite level. But that won't be for every age group. Our goal, and my goal especially, as it always has been, is to try to make it as convenient for as many people as possible. Because once it becomes inconvenient, you start ruling people out. People just go, that's too much of a hassle, too much of a drive, I'm not doing that, right? So that is the #1 goal, and that was already a statement going into the meeting with these guys before we merged was, guys, listen, I don't want anybody driving during the week. I don't want anything to become so inconvenient just because you're trying to put together a superstar team. It's not that important. What's important is training every day, 5 days a week, and getting players to the right level. Does that answer your question a little bit? Okay. Any other questions? They're all relying on you, Sean.
Well, I can go on for days.
I'll ask one.
Christine.
Someone had asked me to ask this, so
Okay.
it doesn't pertain to me. Do you think you have an 04 girls team? Like, do you see, because some of the teams are combined together, so do you think now with merging there'll be enough players to have age correct and not?
Possibly, and possibly not.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on what our philosophy is and how we approach it, right? To put together not only the most competitive teams, but also not making it inconvenient. I mean, you could easily take all the players in Charleston and take all the players here and make a team in every age group. but it gets complicated once you start doing that when people live 2 hours away. So you have to be realistic when you're also putting those teams together. Any other questions? Anyone?
Yes, I'll be your spokesman.
I'm sure we can email you questions.
Text, if you want to text any of your friends right now, if they have any questions that they would like for you to proctor.
I'll call Beverly.
I think everybody in this room is here with kids who are 12 or older. He is not 12 yet?
Pay for you 12, but I love you, man.
Okay. So for 12 and younger, I'll just touch on this. So for 12 and younger, everything is going to continue like it has been. You know, it's going to be local, and the training is going to be the same. The coaching staff is going to be the same. The biggest benefit is going to be being able to work with people in Charleston and in Savannah, not just us and Mount Pleasant, but other clubs in Charleston and other clubs here, to put together leagues and friendlies and games, which is going to open up the spectrum of being able to put together more competitive stuff for our kids 9 to 12. So that's going to be a huge benefit for our younger kids. Outside of that, it's not going to be a lot different. Another thing that I'll touch on is that by being on the administrative side, by combining both organizations, it makes it way easier to move players back and forth. So even if players are not on a Mount Pleasant team, or a Mount Pleasant kid's not on a Savannah team, it makes it way easier 2 days before an event. If somebody gets hurt, to go, hey, listen, we just had 2 kids hurt, we're missing another kid. We need somebody to go play with this group. It opens up a way bigger pool of players without tons of paperwork. It's a couple of clicks of the button to be able to move some kids around to ensure everybody has enough kids at the right level. So that's probably one of the biggest benefits. Scott, any questions? Coming in late? No questions?
Can you clarify, so when you say 12 and under, so next year, are U12 to be U13, and that's when they normally combine Savannah and Helmholtz?
Yeah, so U13,
So
they
that's the
go
same?
11v11. And
Okay.
so once they go 11v11, then they're playing in the state league,
Okay,
which is a schedule where you're playing teams from all over South Carolina. At 12 and under, right now, you're playing friendlies and doing tournaments and stuff like that. So now we'll be able to put together more of a set league with other clubs and ourselves.
okay. So at our age, when we get to U13 is when we may be combining with the Charles.
Well, he's in 06, right?
Mhm.
So in August, they'll be
Yes.
combined on select, right?
Select, he'll be on a select team.
Right.
Where those kids are from, I
We don't know
cannot,
yet.
I
Okay.
cannot say, but I will say, at 12 and 13 years old, there's no real reason to be combining teams from Charleston and Savannah. And these kids are still really young. Both pools of players are still fairly big. You know, the place where it's going to help the most in combining age group is as the players get older. So because in Charleston and in Savannah, the player pool continues to get smaller and smaller every year. So that's not just here, that's everywhere. As you continue to get older, the player pool gets smaller, kids quit, kids move on, kids start doing other things. And so the ability to combine kids at an older age group, 17, 18, 19, is where the biggest benefit is going to be for putting teams together if it's Savannah and Charleston. Any other questions? Yes.
Is this all going to be a link with Tormenta?
Is it all going to be
Is this all going to be a link with Tormenta?
a link with
Well, like,
Tormenta like the PDL team?
Yeah.
I would say most likely. So just on the legal side, we have to put everything together. But just like we've been working with Tormenta FC as the PDL team, and now they're a USL D3 team, they're keeping the PDL team unless something happens that I don't know about, I would suspect it's going to keep going in the same direction. There's a huge benefit for us to be associated with the PDL team and now a USL D3 team where our players, especially on the boys side, have the ability to filter all the way up now to both a PDL team and now a USL D3 team. So a kid who lives in Savannah or Charleston has the ability to play with one of those teams if they're good enough. And having the coach, John Laracy, is still going to be on staff. Coaching is going to be in the system, coaching our players.
Tryouts are, you said May, June, roughly.
May 1st is when tryouts can start in South Carolina. We're in the predicament of being South Carolina and Georgia, which is always kind of hairy. So they'll start rolling around May 1st, and it starts with the older kids first because they've already played State Cup. And then May 14th, I think, is when the younger kids, after State Cup for the U13s and 14s, then it'll be a free-for-all. Everybody will be.
Okay, then what is the process after that? Like, about how long later will we have some idea of?
I would think by the end of May.
By the end of May, we'll have some idea of what?
I would think by the end of May. And I, as usual, personally try to do a good job of letting people kind of know where they stand beforehand anyway. So if there's a radical change coming, I will always try to do my best to make sure somebody doesn't get blindsided with that. So as we know more information and it's going to affect a certain team or a certain player, we'll be having those conversations before you get to a tryout and then see something posted on the website. Doug?
Who's going to make the decisions about the players and where they end up? Will it be you? Will it be a pool of people? Will it be
There will be a pool of people. So myself, Keenan, who's the girls director, Matt Palmer, who is the boys director, Matt Joe, who's the executive director, but he pretty much leaves it to Keenan and Matt Palmer right now, and he'll be doing the same thing with me and looking for my input, Keenan's input. And then David Jordan and Christy, who I've known all of these guys for a long time. So, we're looking to put together the best program in Savannah and in Charleston, and it's going to be something that happens over time. We're not going to get everything right the first go around. You can expect that. So going into the next season, I'm sure there'll be things that we change. So, but we will look at everything possible to try to make sure that we're hitting it as close to the nail on the head as we can. Christine.
Overall, I have older kids, but it seems like it's good. How does it affect fees and costs? Is there going to be a change to that? With the bigger pool, will fees go down?
Maybe. Maybe.
As in, like, will they go down?
Are we still gonna have our scholarship program? Is that?
We will, and so, but don't quote me on this. I think we raise more money right now. So that's one of the things that, we've done a really good job of putting on good fundraisers and raising enough money so that kids have the opportunity to play regardless of whether they're financially able to afford it, and that's something that we're going to be continuing to try to do. But hopefully by combining with Mount Pleasant, we have even bigger pool of people to pull from to hopefully raise more money so we can get more kids involved. Any other questions? You guys are just dying to pick your kids up at 6:30. We're going to make it.
Just so you know, there's a big accident that's blocking Edville towards Hilton Head. On 278. So you can.
All right. We got another question.
Is there
Yes.
an age that you expect that you'd be combining the teams, or?
I don't know a specific age.
Okay.
We've talked vaguely and briefly about this, but that's going to be the hottest topic to come up with the right solution. You can say it's going to err more towards older players than it is towards younger players. Because as you get older, there is a specific need to have to put teams together. Because they're losing players because kids drop off. We're losing players because kids drop off. So there's a specific need at 17, 18, and 19 everywhere. Especially in smaller communities like Charleston and Mount Pleasant and Savannah. At the younger age groups, there's not as much of a need because you have the numbers. But it doesn't mean that we might not pull players or move players. We haven't set any of that in stone. Rule of thumb, older, yes, younger, we'll probably try to hold off as long as we can, if I'm guessing. Good question. Any other questions? Going once? Bueller? Bueller? Going twice? Last chance. All right, thank you guys for coming out. If you have any other specific questions that you would like to ask, I'll hang around for another 10 or 15 minutes. Thank you guys.